Welcome to my next Stranger Things Season 1 episode review video. Before I get into that, though, pretty important. If you aren't caught up to the point where I am every rewatching or watching Stranger Things, or you're just entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention, as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, you find that you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this detailed review any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And full disclosure, I've already seen everything thus far that's been released of Stranger Things. I'm just doing these detailed review videos to get ready and prepare for Stranger Things Season 5, which I'm hearing is supposed to come out in November. Don't know for sure if that's the case or not, but I hope to be done with all the episode reviews by then. No guarantees, though. And prepare myself for the final season of Stranger Things. And I'm guessing they'll pause it and go into 2026 as well to keep people on Netflix. So it's a good show. I like it a lot. I'm not sure where it ranks upon my favorite shows of all time. I would definitely say it's top 20 for sure. Top 10, we might have an argument for that. So with all that said, this will be Stranger Things Season 1, Episode 2, or Season 1, Chapter 2. The title of this episode is called The Weirdo on Maple Street. And this will be my review reaction recap after just finishing watching the episode. We start with Dustin, Lucas, and Mike. They bring who we find out is 11 to Mike's house after finding her in the woods. They find that she has a strange understanding of social norms, not bothering to go somewhere private to change clothes when Mike gives her something to wear because her clothes are all wet. The boys, of course, stopped her from undressing in front of them, luckily. Mike shows her to a bathroom where she insists on not closing the door fully. Lucas is mistrustful, theorizing that she could be an escapee from a nearby asylum. He and Dustin want to tell Karen, Mike's mom, but Mike reminds them that they are not supposed to be out after dark and that they will all get in trouble. He plans to have her pose as a missing child that stumbled upon the house for his mother, who will call social services. After Lucas and Dustin leave, Mike sets up a blanket for her to sleep in, and she shows him her tattoo that reads 011. When he asks for her name, which when he mentions his name in short is short for Michael, he decides to call her L, short for 11. They say goodnight to each other, and 11 falls asleep, despite the storm. The next morning, Hopper arrives at the Byers' house to inform Joyce that they have not yet found her son. She shows him her fried phone, which Hopper attributes to the storm, despite Joyce's insistence that Will was on the other end. Having not heard from her ex-husband, Hopper decides to go and talk to him himself. Jonathan offers to go in Hopper's place, but Hopper orders him to stay and support his mother. Mike takes an extra Eggo waffle for 11 for breakfast and tells her about his plan to get her back home safely. 11 refuses, insisting that bad people are still looking for her that are willing to kill him. Brenner listens to a recording of Joyce calling the police, insisting that Will was on the other end. The manhunt for Will Byers continues, and Hopper tells Calvin Powell off when he cracks a joke about Joyce's just about Joyce. Callahan jokingly asks if she and Hopper had relations before, and Powell smirks knowingly. Steve invites Nancy to a small party at his house that night. His popular and crude friends, Tommy and Carol, in attendance. They notice Jonathan putting up missing posters for Will, which all but Nancy is jocular about. She awkwardly offers him her condolences. Lucas and Dustin notice Mike is late for class. Mike has actually ditched school, waiting for his mother to leave before doubling back to watch over 11. Mike shows her his TV, pictures of his family. 11 refers to Nancy as pretty, and his father's recliner. While he drives to Lonnie's, Jonathan listens to the Clash's Should I Stay or Should I Go, which makes him think about a time he will listen to the song in his room while Joyce argued with Lonnie over the phone. Joyce goes to her job at the general store to buy a new phone, getting an advance from the sympathetic owner, although reluctantly sympathetic owner, A repairman checks to see if the buyers are home before signaling to a van from which Brenner and several scientists, all in suits, emerge. Using a scanner, Brenner finds a surge of power coming from the shed and notices a dark liquid running down a plank of wood. Mike shows Eleven around his room, and she notices a photo of his friends. Mystified, she points to Will, shocking Mike. Before he can get information out of her, Karen returns home. Terrified that Mike will tell Karen about her, Mike calms Eleven by explaining the concept of a promise as something that you can't break, and promises not to tell her. He hides her inside his closet, closing the door fully. Eleven in the closet has a flashback to Brenner, who she calls Papa, ordering her thrown inside a small dark cell. She begs for him to open the door before giving up. Mike tries to lie that he is sick, but Karen assumes he is distressed about Will and tells him that he can always talk to her. Mike finds Eleven in tears when he opens the closet, but she promises that she is all right. Hopper warns Callahan not to get too close to the edge of the cliff, as the fall would mean certain death. He gets a call from Secretary Florence informing him of a situation at Benny's Burgers. The police arrive to find Benny Hammond dead. This body staged as a suicide. Powell remarks that the influx of situations must remind Hopper of the time as a city cop, but he responds that he did not know most of the people he investigated, and Hammond was his friend. Lucas and Dustin go to Mike's, the former Incredibles, that Eleven is still there. They can't believe that Eleven is still there, I should say. Mike tells them about her identifying Will and asks if it is a coincidence that they found her where Will disappeared. When he repeats her worries about the bad man, Lucas tries to leave the room to tell Karen, but when he tries to open the door, it slams shut on its own. The boys turn around to see Eleven with her nose bleeding. Jonathan does not find Will at Lonnie's, who insists that Jonathan come live with him, which he is vehemently opposed to. He leaves Lonnie with one of Will's posters in case he forgot what he looks like. Hopper interviews a friend and patron of Hammond's named Earl, who insists that Hammond was acting normal as of late. He mentions Eleven, who he mistook for a boy. Hopper shows Earl a picture of Will and asks if the boy could have been with him or been him with a buzz cut, and Earl murmurs that it may have been. Over dinner, Nancy convinces Karen to let her go to Steve's party, pretending that she is going to an assembly for Will Byers. Dustin sees Eleven descending the stairs and awkwardly distracts everyone by spazzing and banging the table, searching the area around Benny's Burgers. Scott Clark finds a drainage pipe with a torn piece of cloth from the hospital. The search party follows the pipe that leads to Hawkins' lab. The boys bring 11 leftovers from dinner, and Dustin and Lucas apologize for their rude behavior. Lucas still a little mistrustful. They explain the concept of a friend when she asks. Hopper wonders aloud to a woman he is sleeping with if he is cursed, as there has not been a suicide in Hawkins for 20 years and a missing person in 60. Sitting at Mike's Dungeons and Dragons board, 11 picks up the cleric figure, identifying it as Will. She flips the board upside down and places the cleric on it, saying he is hiding. When Mike asks what from, she places the figure of the Demogorgon next to the figurine. Searching for Will, Jonathan snaps pictures of the places in Mirkwood where his bike was found. He hears a scream but realizes it's just Steve's party when he hurries to it. Barb, who Nancy has brought along and is clearly out of place, cuts her hand when trying to open a beer. Jonathan takes pictures of the party from afar. Joyce, having been waiting by the phone for hours, receives a phone call. She was sleeping, actually. Will's voice saying, "Mom," and the lights flicker before the phone shocks her and fries itself again. The flickering lights lead to her to Jonathan's room, where "Should I stay or should I go" is playing. The lights and music abruptly cut, and the wallpaper begins to distort in the shape of a humanoid, causing Joyce to flee the house. The power comes back on, and Joyce goes back into the house. As Nancy goes upstairs with Steve, Barb tries to stop her and tells her that this isn't you. Nancy ignores Barb and tells Barb to go home. Nancy and Steve end up having sex, which Jonathan takes a few pictures of before focusing on Barb, sitting dejected over Steve's pool. Blood from her cut hand splashes into the water, and the lights flicker before a monstrous figure appears behind her, and they both vanish. Then you see Steve and Nancy again, and then they go back to the pool with nothing there. And that's what ends this episode of Stranger Things. So interesting stuff. Good performance in this episode by a few people. I'm going to score the episode an 8.2 out of 10. And Joyce did really good. 11 did good. Nancy did good. And Jonathan, I think, did good. Which Jonathan is one of my least favorite characters on the show. At least later on he is. At the start he's not so bad, but just my opinion. So you've heard everything that I have to say. Now it's your turn. If you're a fan of Stranger Things and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please make sure that you Hulk smash the like button, share this video with a friend, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on this episode of Stranger Things. What would you rate the episode, and who would you choose as a character or characters of the episode? And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel. You're watching the video anyway. Help me get over 100,000 subscribers. Join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And you never know what you're going to see on JDev TV.